September 9th, 2025 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. If the city clerk could please take the roll.
Stevenson.
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Spanbauer.
Here.
Flom.
Here.
Bealow.
Here.
Mugwauer.
Here. Invocation tonight will be led by Deputy Mayor Stevenson, and then we have a student here from South Park Middle School to help us with our pledge.
As we gather here tonight, we are grateful for the good things that have come to this city. May our decisions always be ones that are for the well-being of all whom we've governed.
And tonight we have Taylor Braun with us from South Park Middle School to help us out.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you, Taylor, for being here tonight and leading us. Taylor's at South Park Middle School. I know it's a little early in the school year. You've only been there a couple days. Usually we ask if you have a favorite teacher, favorite subject. Now'd be a time if you want to tell us, or maybe just a favorite subject in general.
Yes, I love art, but my favorite teacher, Miss Turner, she sadly left our school and went to West.
Well, Mr. West gets an awesome t-shirt, it sounds like, and enjoy art this year. First up, we have a presentation. Finance Director, I think if you want to...
Proclamations first.
Those were all issued ahead of time.
Oh, excellent.
So I don't have any to give out tonight. Julie, the floor is yours.
I have Mr. Patel from Kerber Rose here to present the 2024 ACFR.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me tonight. I have put together some slides to summarize the audit results, and then I'll move on to some financial observations. Along the way, feel free to stop and ask any questions you have, or I will take any questions at the end as well. As far as the audit results, the financial statements contain a clean, unmodified audit opinion, which is what you're striving for. The audit is essentially completed in two phases, and the first phase looks at your internal controls surrounding your most significant accounting processes that really consist of journal entries, payroll, disbursements, receipting, and the evaluation of your internal controls results in no findings. And then as far as your federal and state single audit compliance, we had no compliance or control findings within that testing either. So very clean results from an audit standpoint, and reflective of a strong financial team. On this slide, we have the overall general fund balance, and also shaded for the various colors. The biggest component of your general fund is your unassigned fund balance. Overall general fund balance increased approximately $4.8 million for the 2024 fiscal year. And what does that mean from a health standpoint? We always kind of look at the unassigned general fund balance because that represents resources available to start the 2025 fiscal year as a percent of your general fund expenditures. And you can see, I think it's helpful to kind of have a 5-year look back and see where you've been and where you're heading from that perspective. And anything from 20 to 30% for both a cash flow standpoint and a bond rating standpoint is considered good, and anything above 30% is considered strong. So you can see it had a minor tick down in 2023, and then back up to just above 40% there at the end of 2024. So from a financial health standpoint for the general fund, I think you're in a good shape there. That's always a snapshot in time, And I always say that should be used in conjunction with management's projections and your talk of the budget into the future years as well. Total outstanding debt, here again, I'm just listing a 5-year trend of your overall debt, and it's also broken out between governmental and your business type activities. And then the overall debt service as a percent of your non-capital general fund expenditures. And you can see you're below 40% for the past 3 years. There is no magic number per se when it comes to looking at this, because as long as you're getting a return on investment from the debt that you've taken out, and creating tax base and development, I think that's a healthy thing. I think if you were to ask your debt advisor, maybe somewhere around that 40% and below would be what they would recommend. And the water utility rate of return, you're subject to the Public Service Commission, and they authorize a rate of return. And you can see that was 4.9% in 2024 compared to 4.6% in 2023. And so you're generating a positive rate of return, but it's below the authorized rate of return. But looking across our client base, a 4.9% rate of return is a pretty strong rate of return right now. And you had a rate increase approximately mid-year in 2023. So you can see the results of that reflected in the increase in your rate of return for 2024. With that, I would take any questions that you have for me.
I don't see any.
I'm sure we'll have them at budget time, but.
You're going to save them all for Julie?
Appreciate the effort, the work that's put into this, making sure that an outside firm is making sure that we're following the rules and doing this in proper form, and appreciate all the efforts. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Julie, anything more from you on this that you want to share?
My one comment, and I warned Greg I was probably going to say this, or I might say this, was we all saw the fund balance percentage drastically increase. A reminder that last year during budget season, we talked about that at length, is that we moved a bunch of general fund expenditures into a special revenue fund. So we arbitrarily made that percentage look really good. Just throwing that out there.
Good reminder. All right, moving right along. Public statements to council. I have no one registered to speak to us tonight on anything at this moment. So we'll move right on to consent agenda. I'll take a motion and a second on consent.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or items to remove? I see none. When you're ready, if you'll take the roll on consent.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Nichols.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Flom.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Mugwauer.
Aye.
Carried 7-0.
Pending ordinance, ordinance 25-476. This is to amend section 27A-11 of the municipal code pertaining to parking regulations on Washington Avenue. I'll take a motion in a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? I see none. When you're ready, if you'll take the roll on 25-476.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Nichols.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Flom.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Mugwauer.
Aye.
Carried 7-0.
The next three new ordinances, we don't anticipate any action on this evening. These will be the first readings. Ordinance 25-477 approves zone change from 2-flat residential 10 district and central mixed-use district to 2-flat residential 10 district with a planned development overlay for select properties located on the south side of the 100 block of West 8th Avenue and the north side of the 100 block of West 9th Avenue between Oregon Street and Nebraska Street. And Plan Commission recommends approval. Ordinance 25-476 approves zone change from heavy industrial district to heavy industrial district with a planned development overlay at 2751 Universal Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Again, no one registered to speak on that. And ordinance 25-479, amend Chapter 13 of the City of Oshkosh Municipal Code pertaining to fire prevention and protection to adopt updated provisions from the International Fire Code and clarify provisions pertaining to responsibility for compliance and fireworks. Again, all three of those will come back at the next regularly scheduled council meeting for further discussion and action. Moving on to the two pending resolutions. These were laid over at the last meeting. Resolution 25-480, approved determination of necessity to acquire and approve and execute relocation order for a stormwater easement at 3820 Jackson Street, 3835 Somerset Way, and 3847 Somerset Way. I have no one registered to speak on this. I will take a motion in a second.
I'll check and see if anybody wanted to.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak to this item? If you can come up here to this microphone, and then if you can just give us your name and address. And is there anybody else who's here that wants to speak on this? Just so I know, so I don't miss you. Thank you for catching it. Welcome, sir. Name and address, please.
Connor Miller at 3835 Somerset Way. So, on behalf of my wife and I, Abby, we'd like to share with you the following points against proposed easement between 3835 Somerset Way and 3847 Somerset Way. And we ask that you please listen to the following points and try to put yourself in our shoes or the shoes of your children even, and consider what the impacts of this easement would mean and what it would mean on yourselves and what it will mean for Abby and Deborah and myself. So, Abby and I are newly married and first-time home buyers. Depending on how this goes, it may be our last home in this city. We grew up in Oshkosh and moved back here after a decade away from home, and we want to stay here and encourage our friends to move here. We're young professionals. I'm a CPA. My wife is a nuclear medicine technologist at Aurora over off 21. With kids in our new future that can be positively contributing to this community for decades to come. The handling of this will help us understand that the city of Oshkosh represents its cities and our private property. Within the range of the proposed easement, there's a portion of our garage, our patio, our fence, our lone adult maple tree, which provides all the shade for our patio, 6 of the 18 adolescent arborvitae trees that Abby and I planted in our first year of owning the home, and our newly planted garden. Debbie has a shed, 50 feet of vinyl fencing, 10 matured arborvitae trees, shrubs, and other landscaping. This easement negatively impacts our ability and Debbie's ability to enjoy our private residences. We have discussed with city representatives that if this easement is obtained, the storm sewer will need to be dug up and replaced, or at the very minimum, repaired, as it is not currently up to code because our fence posts drilled through the top of it. If the storm sewer is dug up and our yard is destroyed with it, we would lose functionality of our entire backyard living space. Why would you do this by confiscating private property rather than find another option, such as a retention pond or reroute the sewer elsewhere? It's also been frustrating for us as we have not been presented with alternative solutions. We have not been given anything that has been a retention pond, rerouting, capping, anything. It's been very frustrating for us to just say, take the private owner's property and just go with it. Additionally, as the storm sewer needs to be dug up and repaired regardless, why not remove it or cap it and redirect a new storm sewer elsewhere? There's a portion of land between 3761 Somerset Way and 3749 Somerset Way that goes between 2 commercial building apartment complexes, has 20 feet of available space with no existing structures, and is connected to the proposed development site. We believe the existence of this drainage pipe may also have contributed to the damage of our north-facing foundation wall on our home. Additionally, Debbie has a crack in the foundation of her southern wall. These homes are built in 1995, only 30 years old. 30-year-old homes don't generally get cracks in the foundation. There are 100-year homes in Oshkosh without cracks. We think that the overflow of water into our yard from this damaged drainage pipe is what could have led to the pressure on our foundation, causing a crack in the north-facing wall. This greatly reduces the value of our home, potentially because a damaged city sewer has been illegally using our property and pouring water into our properties since the late 80s. When buying this home, we made sure to look for a house with a fenced-in yard so that our dog Mabel can safely enjoy the space and we can let her do so with peace of mind. Any easement would impact our ability to have a fully fenced-in yard, as the baseline for easements do not allow for structures on the land in question. This proposed 20-foot easement would take nearly 15 to 20% of our entire lot. This is significant as we do not have acres of land, but you are taking 20 feet, nearly 20%. We live on a 3/10 acre lot. This is going to be significant for us. By taking this much, the value of our home is decreased accordingly. It is possible that this storm drainage pipe has been illegally using our property since it was installed, which is thought to be in the late 80s. We believe we'd be entitled to compensation for the city's illegal use of our properties regardless of the resolution of this proposed easement. And we as first-time home buyers would not have purchased this property for the amount we did if we knew this was coming or that there was an existing storm used by the city on our properties. The city's negligence for having a storm sewer there for 40 years without anyone's knowledge has led to an overvalued home. As such, we have paid more in property taxes due to the overvalued city assessments, homeowners insurance, and more, which we believe could entitle us to compensation. If the sewer does not operate as intended, it could result in excess water on our properties, and we could be at greater risk of flooding, which may reduce our ability to insure our homes properly and leave us at greater financial risk. The Plan Commission, this was hard for us. The Plan Commission recommended approval before a single member came out to see how the proposed plan would affect the properties. And it's all over the official documents that you guys have today that Plan Commission approved as if it's some high and mighty authority. But no one came to us, no one came and saw that site before they made that vote. Since that date, over a month ago, still only 2 members of your council have come out to the site and talked with us. It is irresponsible for let alone any city government member, but just on a human level, to vote for the city to take this much of a private citizen's property without so little as a site inspection. We do not want this. Dealing with stormwater for other development properties is not our problem or the problem of Oshkosh private residences. This should be the problem of the city and whoever owns or develops the property. Again, we ask you to put yourselves in our shoes and think about this as if it was happening to yourself or your own children. We believe the city taking this property would be wrong, and we will be vocal in defense of our rights as property owners in the city of Oshkosh. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this before we put it for the council discussion? I don't see anybody yet. I'll take a motion and a second to put it on the floor, please.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Buelow.
All right, thank you. As we're all aware, this is a complicated and frankly unfortunate situation. It was when it came to Plan Commission, and I voted to push it forward there as it all to Plan Commission, because this is frankly where the decision would lie right here, knowing, this is, the Plan Commission doesn't have the authority to kind of reject that kind of things. It could give a recommendation. And typically when I vote no against staff's recommendation is because I believe something's been overlooked or isn't quite right. In this case, I'm convinced that staff worked very hard to give us thoughtful options. The recommendation before us is clearly option A. In fact, I'm not an engineer, but I would guess that if you had 100 other professionals given the same case study, they would recommend this option. I understand why it's recommended, and I appreciate the work that went into it, but I'll be voting no. My no vote does not reflect a lack of confidence in the staff. Instead, it's an encouragement and permission to continue to look for additional options. They may not be readable, they may not be beautiful, but they're options that may have been dismissed because of higher costs or complexities, or but I believe may ultimately solve the situation better. I have 2 main reasons for this. First, in my role up here, as staff knows, I'm able to weigh the human cost a little bit further. I've tried to put myself in the position of those directly affected, and I know that I would have never, personally, for my family, we would never buy a house that we couldn't have a backyard fence. There just isn't a cost for it. When we account for the easement, the cost of repairs, and the very real human impact, the balance can shift to other alternatives being a little more palatable. Second, I am fairly confident, and I didn't ask this question, and you can address it if you'd like, but I'm assuming that if this drain pipe did not exist, that this would not be the option that we'd be approaching. You know, it's a situation that we inherited, but I don't think if we were looking at a new development, we'd be like, hey, let's run this drain pipe there. So the fact that we inherited it does not just mean that we have to accept that status quo. In short summary, I want to thank the staff for their creativity and hard work to date. They've been very diligent about answering questions. I'll be voting no today and hope that we can find a better solution for the future. Deputy Mayor.
I'm going to actually, it looks like staff, are you guys itching to explain anything? If you have background information, I'd rather have you guys speak than me go right now.
Okay. It's been a combination of multiple departments that came together on this one. To sum it all up, we basically went back to the drawing board and said, what are our options here? What is the best scenario that we can come up with? This is not a situation that we planned for, obviously. Our code is written for perfect situations, and this is a very imperfect situation. We tried to find the balance between the residents' obvious use and want of their property, while also balancing that we have a development potential that's occurring on Jackson as well. And then, of course, the overarching stormwater needs of our community within that area. So there's multiple factors here at play, obviously, and as I've kind of explained to a couple of counselors already, our suggestion is to try and come up with a way to imperfectly fix this, which is we believe we have the ability to go in and cut the fence posts out within the pipe itself through, correct me if I'm wrong, injection? Trenchless. I knew I wasn't quite right on that one. The trenchless, so we would not be doing it on the property itself. It would be coming in through the side. We could cut the fence posts out and then line the pipe to still be able to use the pipe for the stormwater within that area. In the meantime, we would still want to acquire the easements from all three parcels so that we would have the use of it in that area, recognizing that we wouldn't need to move the fence or the shed or the trees or anything that's in the area at this time. But if something did occur in the future, which is always a supposition, we never know what's going to happen, that we may have to go in and remove something to be able to get to that pipe to repair it if needed. Hence is the purpose of an easement, but there would also be compensation to the parties for that easement. So it's not perfect. We recognize that it's not great. We wish we had a better situation. We're trying to find that balance between meeting the needs, but also meeting the fiscal needs of the city. There are other options out there with higher price tags, and if that's what council decides us to take a look at, we'd be happy to do so.
Deputy Mayor, floor still yours.
Yeah, and I guess, so I was unclear if this stormwater easement, what, is it just draining that southern going to be daycare site, or is it a regional? I guess I'm confused as to what properties this is all affect, I guess.
The reason we're involved is because it's taking public drainage from State Trunk Highway 76, Jackson Street.
Okay.
So, you know, this pipe was installed based on what we've been able to determine over multiple different construction years. There are several different pipe materials that are constructed there. The city did not construct it, so that's why we don't have all of the information. But it does take runoff from public right-of-way, being Jackson Street. So that's what brings us into the situation of having to deal with it, because that public drainage from the right-of-way becomes our responsibility.
Okay, so if the new daycare site were to put it like on-site stormwater, that would be for just their parcel. It would not take the drainage off of Jackson. Is
Correct.
That, you'd still need additional.
They would be installing stormwater management to manage the runoff generated from their site, and then they need to, it needs to discharge to somewhere, because it doesn't all stay on site. It leaves the site, so it needs somewhere to discharge. And that's where, when their survey discovered this pipe and we started looking into it, it's like, well, okay, that's really the only outlet pipe that is available for them.
Sure. Okay. My opinion on this one, a few of us talked with the city attorney beforehand, and the resolution right now is just approving to kind of talk with you guys. I guess I'm going to be upfront and not say that I don't want to use eminent domain. I guess I'm going to tell staff right now that I would not vote to go with eminent domain. I am okay voting with this resolution if it means let's talk with the property owners and let's come up with a solution that they agree to. Maybe there's a number that you guys think that offsets that. But if it's a no from the property owners, I think it's a no from me. I don't want to get into the eminent domain, but I do think it's okay to open up negotiations right now. So I would be approving this resolution, but know that it's with the caveat of I want us to talk with the property owners further and see if there's a amicable situation here. So yeah, I guess that's what I would have to say.
Councilmember Nichols, then we're going to go with Councilmember Flom right after.
Thanks. So Councilmember Bulow had, in his statement, he assumed that if this pipe were not here, this would not be the option we chose. I guess I'm asking you to opine on that. Is this the best placement for this stormwater pipe if we were to build it today and it were not to be there today?
That's a tough question. It would certainly not be where I would start looking to put a pipe. When we are installing new infrastructure, the first place that, we will always look to put it is within the public right-of-way or any easements that are already existing. But public right-of-way is always the first place that we are going to look to put our infrastructure.
Do we know if there's public right-of-way available for a pipe of this size to drain? Jackson Street's what I'm less concerned about the development because we're going to figure that out. I'm more concerned about Jackson Street because it has been serving this area since longer than I've been born.
Eventually, there is a pipe that it could drain to. We would need to undertake a little bit more of a study and analysis to find where is the most appropriate location to bring a pipe from to be able to serve that part of Jackson Street.
Okay, and then I guess that's helpful. And then I kind of have two hypotheticals, and I know that you love those. But in the event that we were to not use this pipe, would you recommend then that we cap it at both ends, or would we continue using it the way that it has been used? And there's a part B to that question probably for the city attorney.
So if I heard you right, so please correct me if I'm not getting this right. If we were to not use it, then we wouldn't have any water going through it. In that case, if we are not using it all, my recommendation would be to cap and to fill.
Okay.
A pipe of this size, I would not leave capped and open underground. This is, I believe, a 24-inch pipe, correct? I would absolutely not leave a pipe that size open underground that's not being utilized. I would cap and fill it.
So said another way, now that we know about it, we got to do something.
Yes.
Okay, and in the event that, let's say it wasn't capped and filled, let's we did nothing, and the pipe were to collapse, which of course we don't want, but let's say that happened, would the city have come to their rescue today or last week or a month ago and said, oh my gosh, we've realized that pipe's there? Would we have then fixed the problem on these properties?
If the pipe had collapsed, wow, knowing what I know now, I don't know what I would have done, 2 weeks ago, not knowing then. Knowing what I know now, if that were to happen tomorrow, yes, I would.
Even without the easement?
Yes.
And in that event, I guess this is part B for the city attorney, before we could even correct that problem, would we have to get an easement?
You would need permission to go on their property because right now we don't have that.
Got it. So to do anything, really, whether it's continuing the operation we have today or it's correcting a problem that exists in the future, we're going to have to get an easement.
Or some type of permission. If the direction were from council to find somewhere else to route this pipe and go through the analysis to find it, at that point in time, if we were to abandon the pipe, I would say, no, we wouldn't need an easement, but we're going to need permission to be able to do that. That's where, something similar to the construction access agreements like we use on our street reconstruction projects. And I haven't had a chance to talk with City Attorney Lawrenson on this, but that would be where I would start to look at as an avenue to get that permission.
Got it. That's super helpful. And then, sorry, last question. Do we have a list of the other options with higher price tags that were mentioned earlier?
I know you have something put together, I think.
So I went through 2 weeks ago prior to council and went through a very, very high level exercise of can I get the water to drain from point A to point B and where can I get it to go to? So very preliminary, I got 3 different routes that could possibly work. but that doesn't take into any other consideration of, can that infrastructure that I'm tying into really handle this added water, one, and two, what are the other utility conflicts that may arise, sanitary lateral conflicts, water lateral conflicts, other utilities that may be in the way. I've not looked at that at all. So there's 3 routes that I've preliminary, very high level looked at to say, is there a possible route? Yes.
That's super helpful. I think those are all the questions I have, but I will say, I think what I would be, and I'm not making the motion right now because I think other people want to talk. I'd be supportive of delaying this vote while we consider those other options and have those options brought back to council. Unlike some of the other statements that were made up here, if this is the only way that we can move stormwater away from Highway 76, I'm going to support doing that. And I think that is incredibly unfortunate for these property owners. And I'm a homeowner, and I would be devastated to learn this is the case too. But I think that what we need to know as a council is, are there other options here that are feasible, that don't disrupt the lives of the citizens of Oshkosh in the same way? If there aren't, well, then I think we move forward with this. If there are, I think we should be considering those options, and we'd want those options considered for ourselves. And so I'd be supportive, again, not making the motion right now, of pushing this vote for later. But I will wait to hear what everyone else says.
Councilmember Flom, and then we're going to go with Councilmember Larson.
Thank you. And I appreciate James and Director Robbie and City Engineer Girak about this. One of the questions that I really did have was, what other alternatives we may come across for this. And I'd like to examine those further as a council before moving forward in this direction. I'm a first-time home buyer myself. I bought my first house this year. This would be absolutely devastating to me if this was what I had to see and experience, and it's something I would not be able to afford personally. And so I want to raise my family in Oshkosh. I don't want to be in a situation where we haven't exhausted all the options before proceeding with this. So personally, I'd like us to take a look at other options as well. I won't make a motion yet either. I want to see what other people have to say, but that's the direction I would want to go in, and I would vote no on this in its current form if we are forcing a vote today. But I'd like to look at other options about where we can put that stormwater before moving in that direction.
Mr. Larson, followed by Mr. Spanbauer.
Similar thoughts from me, and you guys, tons of sympathy. It's an awful situation, and my goal is more layman's terms here. I'm sort of between what what Councilor Stevenson and Councilor Bulow said. If it's this resolution as it's written, and Sarah, I really appreciate your analogy that this is an imperfect solution to a really difficult thing. But if I'm the homeowners reading the resolution as presented, you said we want to find a way to help them keep their fence and their trees and their shrubs and the shed and all those things. And I agree with that. And I think that's what I hear them saying as well. That's part of what's important here, is being able to keep the things that exist and keep the reasons that they bought that home. So no matter what happens, I don't think they should be punished by something they didn't know happening, and we didn't know existed either. I mean, there's no real fault here, but how we move forward in the right manner is what's important. So to me, the resolution as drafted wouldn't give me any assurance that that's what we're saying to them, because it doesn't say that. So that's why I'm with Councilor Nichols on this. Be it other options of where the water goes or how it goes, I will still be concerned that these folks get to keep the amenities that they purchase, and they get to continue their lives based on what they bought as a home, because that's what's most important to me here. And I think there might be a way to do that if there's an easement in their future, if there are conversations that happen. But I'm not comfortable enough with this as drafted as a resolution to say this is the starting point for those conversations, because it just doesn't read that way to me yet. Does that make sense? So I'm with everybody up here so far.
Councilmember Spanbauer.
Thank you. I also went out and visited the property like Councilmember Flom. I'm also a first-time home buyer, so can definitely relate to the folks who spoke. I mean, in agreement with a lot of what has been said up here, certainly Councilmember Bulow. I think we need to consider other options, look at other options, consider a reroute. And then when the time comes to make that decision, I think having all parties at the table about the discussion, whether that's easement or request for access to the property, or however that works out. But I think for right now, for me, would be a no.
couple questions. How long would you anticipate it might take to give us a well-informed answer to our questions? Basically, what are the alternatives and the rough guesstimates on financial impacts as well as other impacts, because it's not all financial, because if we can't put it in public right away, it's got to go somewhere else. Do you have a rough guesstimate on how much time you might need?
If you promise not to hold me to it, I would say a couple months.
No promises.
Okay. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't have that information ahead of time tonight. I understand that it may have been impractical to expect and impossible to do. But given the discussions that I know I had, I think I was telegraphing it pretty well in terms of my thoughts to staff. So I guess I'm a little disappointed we didn't see some of that tonight. And I acknowledge that maybe that might have been impossible for me to even think that that was an option, but I can't make an informed decision tonight because I don't have all the options available to me. So I'm with most of the council here that says, I need more information before I tell you how to proceed. I understand the impacts that has potentially on development, and it's my job, along with the 6 others that sit up here, to balance the needs of the few versus the needs of the many, and the needs of business versus the needs of residential. And so to do that well, I need all the information I can possibly gather to make the best informed decision. So the options are, if I'm hearing most of council members, and I'm not asking for a poll or nodding heads, that's my one time tonight, I'll reference that. If we vote this down, as it were, we necessarily can't bring it back in the future due to the reconsideration rules that we typically operate under. So I don't want to tie us to something that, I don't want us to turn this completely down if this is something that we have to consider in the future. So I don't necessarily think I want to even call for a vote on it. I'd like to delay it, but I don't have a date to delay it to, and we typically like to do that as well. So I'm looking at, I guess, City Manager Grill and staff in terms of, I'm telling you what I think this council wants to do, and I need some guidance on what you would like me to amend the motion on the table to achieve that. Have I drawn that out long enough?
What's that? How does November 11th, when you'll be talking about the budget, sound? Because if there are other options, those will have budget impacts. So how does that sound?
60 days, basically?
Yes.
Give or take? I'll take it because that's what is being offered to me at this moment. So I can't say no to that. If you can get it to us sooner, of course.
I was just going to say, if we can get it to you sooner, we will.
I would hope so. Is council okay with amending? I'll suggest it and then somebody can motion it. Do you want to say something before I'm going to?
No, I was just going to say a motion to lay over.
Okay. I'm trying to look at, yeah, okay. I'm going to amend it. You said November 11th? I'm going to move to amend the current resolution to lay over until the November 11th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
It was me and then I think Jacob, if I heard him correct, but didn't look. She's still learning the sounds of our voice.
I am. The baby of the group.
Any discussion on laying this over until the first meeting in November so we can gather more information? Councilmember Bulow.
I'm just going to say, although it's probably the right choice, I don't love it because that holds up AdvoCap's ability to make a decision for 90 days as well, and it means that the people that are before us have to live without an answer for 90 days. So my preference would be to say no to the original resolution and move on with a different option, but I won't stand in council's way if this is the more preferable option.
Understood. Mr. Nichols?
I guess a question, is it reasonable to to continue having the conversation with the property owners as if we were going to pursue an easement? Are we allowed to do that under law? So that we're able to have parallel paths here? If we do end up learning that the only option, for example, would be using this pipe, can we not delay those conversations until we come to that?
Technically, if you're going through eminent domain, there's a very step-by-step process to that, and we have certain information that we're obligated to provide ahead of time. I don't know if we have that information available, and
if I may, while I appreciate the desire to not hold something up, I think it would probably be time better spent to let staff focus on getting everything put together and hopefully get it to you sooner than that, rather than trying to keep two paths going.
Got it.
Well, while I understand the desire not to hold it up, I think if we can focus on one and work hard at getting that one done, I think will be better for us.
Sounds good to me.
Mr. Larson?
I had the same question in a slightly different manner. If there's a way in the meantime for staff to have great lines of communication with the folks who have the dire needs here and to get them an answer more quickly and not hold up the other project, that'd be my preference. But if we can't do that, I totally understand. It's the same question, but different procedure, I guess.
Okay. I see nothing else. To say, clerk, if you'll take the roll on the motion to lay over until the November 11th meeting.
Nichols? Oh, I'm sorry, Stevenson.
Aye.
Nichols?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Spanbauer?
Aye.
Flom?
Aye.
Bealow?
No.
Mugwauer?
Aye. That was very definitive.
I wanted her to know my voice.
6-1.
To lay over. So the residents, before we move on, and normally I don't do this, but to the residents, I know this doesn't give you resolution tonight, but this does allow us time to figure out what's the best path. And I'm confident that you will be here at that meeting, and if it's called sooner, I'm also fairly confident, 100% confident, that staff will also reach out to make sure that you're informed. I wouldn't be surprised if council members did as well, to be a part of the process. So I want to assure you of that, we want your input still throughout this whole process, and we'll be looking to staff for some very vital information.
I'd like to say something.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to maybe echo some of those sentiments. I know government can be a little sterile, government can be a little dehumanizing in some cases. It's not the intent. Know that this council, staff, we all very much care about our citizens. We've read all your emails. They're very lengthy. I've still read them. But just know that we do want to have the betterment of this community. We want to make sure that you guys are heard. So please don't think that this, I mean, you've seen, this wasn't just a pass through the easement type of thing. We do want to work with you. So continue to work with us, continue to work with our staff. We're all here to try to make the community better. So please don't let this give a bad taste in your mouth for Oshkosh. Keep your kids here. I love to see our schools growing. So thanks.
If there's nothing else on this one, we'll move on to the next resolution, which is 25481. Approve a budget amendment and award bid for Public Works Contract 2503 to Vinton Construction Company for Washington School reconstruction. I'll take a motion in a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Discussion on this. Well, I'm the one who wanted to lay it over, so I suppose I should go and chat about it. So 2 meetings ago-ish, we had a workshop on Washington School project.
Yep.
We talked about, in a nutshell, we talked about the costs to get these sites shovel-ready, construction-ready.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It came in a little bit higher than we anticipated.
Yep.
Council was receptive to that idea that it was still important to do this project. I'm one of them, and had authorized a compromise of sorts to still make sure that these sites were offered at a reasonable price to the developers, as well as still investing in housing that we so desperately need. And then last meeting, we get the award request for the bid, and doing due diligence, going through it. There were red flags to me that said there's some real dollars in this bid that I don't see the need for, that could reduce the cost of this project, and that was the reason for laying it over last month. That's in a nutshell. I know I didn't say it last month, but that's what occurred. We're now at a spot where staff has reviewed the bid a bit more. They've had some discussions internally regarding the project.
Timelines?
That's my thoughts so far. Do you have something you want to share with us regarding this before I keep going?
I would like to talk a little bit about what staff
Please.
discussed when we took a closer look at the bid. Keep in mind, when we put the bid information together, it's your typical bid document that we put out is the basic work that we know needs to get completed. It was right-of-way, grading, and stormwater management for the site to get all 18 sites prepared. And then we had discussed at our workshop of what we would sell the lots for to recover the cost. That was partially, I should say, almost wholly, but still a little not quite covered through the cost of the sale of the land, sorry. So we took a closer look at the bid, and while I want to emphasize that every part of the bid is important and every line item is important for the work that needs to get completed to prepare the site for the homes to be built on them, there are some areas that I and DPW and other departments feel that we have some wiggle room on. Obviously, our role as staff in any construction work, contract, bid, whatever, is to try and make sure that we're doing it as efficiently and economically as possible. So this would be, in particular, a project that I am very closely involved in and would be watching to make sure that if we can line up timelines better for when the right-of-way, the grading, and the work is getting completed to when we're selling the lots to Habitat and or when we're starting to develop our 9 lots, we have that ability to kind of massage the timeline. There are some lines that are like soil preparation, either planting crops or, what's it called? Seeding, yes. So that stuff's expensive. And the idea is, and the concern, one of the concerns raised was, why would we do this if we know that we're just going to tear it up and put a home on top of it maybe a couple months later, or maybe a month later? Completely understandable, and that's not what we're hoping to do. The idea is we're going to watch it, and if we can time it right, time it right. If not, do what we can economically. But we still have to be aware of erosion concerns. And if they don't like it when I say this, in case anything goes wrong on the site and we have to pause it due to an investigation or historical, whatever, we want the ability to secure it to make sure that we don't have any issues with it in case we can't develop it right away. So one of the things that even I pitched to the mayor was right now within the bid, they're closing down one street and then closing down the other one. So we have the option of doing it right away and not only getting the work potentially completed faster, but saving up to $40,000 in the process right there, just by inconveniencing one block a little bit more than the other. And I do feel that it can be done appropriately while communicating with residents in that area appropriately and well enough that the idea is to keep the project still moving forward, but as economically as we can. I hope that helps kind of explain where our thought process is.
Definitely does. One final concern, and I don't see anybody else pressing the button, in other words, they could go, but a final concern on this is, and I'm just going to be blunt, it shouldn't have taken me asking for departments to get together and figure out a better way. And it's just as clear as that. So that's a bit frustrating. So I hope that this is a moment in time that we can say, we didn't do that, or we didn't do it well enough, and that we're going to do better. Absolutely. Because we have lots of abilities within not only the confines of City Hall, but amongst all of our departments. We have some very highly skilled and professional individuals in every area, Public Works being a major role, a major part of that. And I'll just reiterate, I'm frustrated that I had to ask to find a way to reduce the cost of this project, and that wasn't something that, appearing to me, was done ahead of time. And I would hope that that is done more in the future. I'll leave it right there, and I don't expect a response on that. You can if you want, but I don't expect one. So,
just a slight response is, part of it is my fault. It's a newer project, and I'm not always aware of what other departments' capabilities are, and I'm still learning them in the process. So this was 100% a learning curve and opportunity for me, and I have been very impressed with the collaboration that we've had recently concerning both of these items that have been before council tonight, and I'm excited to see that continue in the future.
Thank you. Any other comments from council or questions? If not, we'll take the roll. Yeah, go right ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Have you guys talked with WIDA with an H at all about anything?
Not in particular related to this site, but we can talk after, and you can tell me what you're thinking, or?
Yeah, I think there might be a few like loan or grant programs that maybe at least the habitat sites could apply for that might be able to I don't know, it might just be worth a conversation with them.
Okay, we do have them in line for a couple of our city programs.
Sure.
To assist them with their purchases as well.
Okay.
City Clerk, if you'll take the roll on 25-481.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Nichols.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Flom.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Mugwauer.
Aye.
Carried 7-0.
That concludes the action items for this evening. We'll move on to council discussion, directing the city manager, as well as future agenda items. I have nothing under the direction or discussion portion. Do have a couple things under future agenda items. We have a couple workshops and hearings to make sure that are on your calendars. 2 budget workshops. That's Tuesday the 14th from 4 to 6 p.m. That's October 14th, 4 to 6 p.m. And then the next night, Wednesday the 15th from 5 to 7, and that's an if needed. The budget, when will that be published for the public? I don't remember in the calendar. Sorry, Julian, sorry. I'm sorry.
While she's walking up, it's just a good time to remind everybody that we love to hear from you on the budget, and as many inputs as we can is appreciated.
I know we have to get it to the newspapers beginning of October, but I'm looking for the exact date that it's published.
No big deal if we don't have it at the moment.
I know it'll be really close to those budget workshops, though.
Okay. No worries. And then we have the public hearing for the operations budget on October the 28th at 5 p.m. That'll be, if I'm doing my math right, that's right before our council meeting? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any council member announcements or statements?
October 13th, it should be
Excuse me.
published.
Thank you.
In the Northwestern, and October 15th in the Herald is what we have on our schedule.
Thank you.
Yep.
I shouldn't put Councilmember Nichols on the spot, but previous to this meeting was the Transportation Committee meeting, and there was the ATV, UTV. I was watching it myself. I was one of the 4 people that were watching it online. I regret not telling you in advance. I was going to ask if you wanted to say something, at least if you just wanted to tell us kind of where it's at, in very quick summary maybe.
Sure.
Would
It
that be
was
okay?
it was a super helpful conversation about ATVs and UTVs, a continuation of the conversation that council had several meetings ago. And people have legitimate concerns. People in the community, of course, should voice those concerns to all of us. I know we've gotten several comments already. I expect we'll get lots more comments about this. Because of the number of comments, because of the concern of the community, because we would be a leader in Wisconsin in terms of cities our size, if we were to make changes and allow ATVs and UTVs on city streets. The recommendation from Transportation was to ask the Transportation Department to use Polco and to ask citizens what they think. That will go to both people in our social media accounts, people that you would expect to respond, but we'll also ask industry professionals, people that are experts in ATVs and UTVs, as well as hobbyists to weigh in, and then that will come back to Transportation so that we can make a recommendation to council.
Apologize again for putting you on the spot, but I appreciate the update. It's something that's out there, and I know lots of council members are using their platforms to discuss it, so appreciate the update. If there's no other announcements or statements, the last part is city manager and your initiatives.
I don't have anything unless there's any questions.
I don't see any at all. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Right in time.